May be following us online. I'm Councillor Ian Edwards, Leader of the Council and Chairman of Cabinet. No fire alarms expected tonight, so if one sounds, we will be evacuating the building. Don't worry, we'll show you the way out, but the quickest and easiest way is the doors behind you, the way you came in, but there are other fire exits. Remind everybody, please, to have their mobile phones and other devices turned to silent. We will get straight into the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. Mark.
Thank you. All Cabinet members are present.
Thank you. Item 2, are there any additional declarations of interest in matters before Cabinet this evening? None indicated. Thank you. Item 3 is to approve the minutes of the last Cabinet meeting. Are they agreed, colleagues? Agreed. Thank you. And item 4 is to confirm the meeting is in 2 parts. Part 1, the public matters. These are the substantive items of general nature. Parts 2 are the confidential matters, typically contractual matters. And although each item is published, the discussion is in private, the outcome is published, and we also facilitate a wider understanding of the issue with a public preview report in the agenda items. So we now turn to agenda item 5. Councillor Goddard, the counter-fraud strategy, please.
Thank you, Leader. This item deals with a refresh of Hillingdon's counter-fraud strategy for the 3-year period from 2025 to 2028, and is set out on pages 15 to 26 of this evening's order of business. Our award-winning counter-fraud team has a continuing track record of considerable success in identifying and preventing fraud. To date, in the current financial year, the team has achieved savings for the authority amounting to £10.1 million, with particular success in areas such as housing tenancy, temporary accommodation, business rates and social care. It will be tempting to imagine that the team's past successes might cause the flow of fraudulent activity in the borough to reduce, but unfortunately this has not proved to be the case, and therefore our investment in the team and our reliance on their work continues to be as necessary and relevant as ever. The 3-year strategy outlines a number of key objectives: maximising loss prevention and recovery, restricting opportunities for fraud and corruption, creating a strong deterrent, improving Hillingdon's reputation through the visibility of our counter-fraud activities, enhancing the Council's overall governance, promoting a culture of zero tolerance towards fraud, maintaining organisation-wide fraud risk awareness, and achieving counter-fraud team operational work plans for each financial year. Colleagues, I would like to take this opportunity to record my thanks and appreciation for the outstanding work, a remarkably high level of achievement attained by Alex Brown and the counter-fraud team. The single recommendation set out on page 15 is that Cabinet approves the counter-fraud strategy for 2025 to 2028, and I so move. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Goddard. It is quite astounding that £10 million worth of fraud has been identified, and one doesn't know quite how deep that iceberg is. So I am delighted that we are continuing to invest in the way that we are in this very important piece of work. Colleagues, is the recommendation agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Item 6, the Housing Forward Investment Programme. Councillor Bianco.
Thank you, Leader. Well, as the title suggests, this is the Housing Development Programme, which at the recent budget meeting, the capital programme for this was agreed at 25.24 million and further 7.4 million for the Green Homes Initiative. So this report is basically to confirm how we're going to spend it and to set our officers on the path to getting on with that particular job. And just so you have reference, the 5 recommendations are on page 28. But in terms of what we're proposing to do this year, in many respects is a continuation of this coming year, in many respects is a continuation of what we've done in the year we're just completing. And if you turn to page 33, you see the proposed programme of works and projects, which includes roofing programmes, window replacement programmes, new kitchens and bathrooms, another 1,900 boilers, passenger lift upgrades in a number of our larger blocks, door entry and access controls, electrical upgrades, fire door sets, although we have now replaced virtually all the fire doors in our stock, and obviously compliance and fire and fire safety. So a lot of work is going to be done across a wide range of our estate, with the aim of improving it and improving the lives of those who live there. In particular, in terms of better insulation, with loft insulation and new windows, reduction of drafts and damp, new boilers which will be more efficient and therefore save our residents money in terms of running them, and new kitchens and bathrooms to improve, where these are worn out. So there's a good range of works. We're asked to note, as I said on page 33, are the 5 recommendations which I move.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bianco. And it is pleasing for a local authority to be able to be putting forward this programme of works in the context of also putting forward quite a substantial programme of investment of acquisition of properties. In many cases, social housing providers are restrained to doing one or t'other, and it is good that this council can do both. Colleague, are these 5 recommendations agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, the council budget for this year, monitoring period number 10. Councillor Goddard.
Thank you, Leader. This item deals with the monitoring of the projected outturn for the council's finances for the current financial year, which ends on the 31st of March 2025. And this is as it stood at month 10, which of course is at the 31st of January 2025. This is set out on pages 39 to 62 of this evening's order of business. If I deal first with the general fund, the budget monitoring process for month 10 indicates a further overspend against budget since month 9 of £900,000, which will take us to a projected aggregate overspend for the full 24-25 financial year of £11 million. This will give rise to reserves available to carry over into next year of £23.6 million. This £900,000 variance is attributable to further projected increases in costs for children, families and education, amounting to £1.3 million, and for corporate services costs of £200,000. And these overspends are offset by reductions in projected spends for properties in highways of £100,000, finance and transformation of £200,000, resident services, which is primarily homelessness, of £200,000, and health and social care of £100,000. It should, however, be noted that within the largest variance, the adverse variance of £1.3 million in respect of children, families and education, there's £600,000 in respect of a government grant income, which is now expected to be received in 25-26 rather than the current 24-25 year, and therefore this should serve to improve the 25-26 position. A reduction of £500,000 in anticipated savings levels is reported, but this has already been factored into the outturn forecast. A projected spend on capital within the general fund of £111.9 million is anticipated, and this represents an underspend of £48.4 million, the majority of which is expected to be rephased into later years. Turning to the housing revenue account, the housing revenue account continues to maintain in-year parity with budget, albeit that this comprises an adverse variance in rental income of £600,000 and an increase in expected operating costs of £100,000, this being offset by reduced capital financing costs of £700,000. Capital expenditure in the housing revenue account will amount to £164.3 million, which is £43.4 million less than budget due to project delays. Once again, this underspend will be rephased into later financial years. Finally, turning to the dedicated schools grant, the projected in-year deficit for 24-25 at month 10 is projected to be £15.9 million, and this actually reflects an improvement of £1.4 million from the £17.3 million deficit which was anticipated at month 9. In overall terms, this is an improvement of £9.7 million in the projected deficit position which was reflected at the 23-24 outturn. Furthermore, the opening deficit also shows a favourable movement of £900,000, such that month 10 position has moved positively in overall terms by £2.3 million. I therefore move items 1 and 2 as set out on page 40 of the Order of Business, and I should explain that recommendation 2 seeks approval for the amended fees and charges for the housing revenue account for 2025-26. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gollard. And this report should give reassurance to our residents that this council continues to be soundly managed and financially sustainable. It is good news that it appears as though that we have turned the corner with the DSG. It's still early days, but it does show that progress is being made. And whilst we are weathering financial pressures with regards to our everyday expenditure, that is no different than any other local authority. And in fact, in many ways, when you benchmark us against others, we are seeing less pressure than equivalents. So yes, it is a situation that faces all local authorities, but this report shows how well it is being managed locally. Colleagues, are these two recommendations agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is the public preview of the matters, confidential matters that I referred to earlier, and it is intended to provide more background information to residents of the matter being considered. We're now going to move to part 2 and ask members of the public to retire. Thank you.